In the dense tropical forests of West Africa, a powerful civilization once thrived, one that built enormous earth walls, mastered bronze artistry, and ruled for centuries with remarkable organization and cultural sophistication. This was the legendary Kingdom of Benin. Long before European colonial powers reshaped the African continent, Benin stood as one of the most advanced kingdoms in West Africa. Its capital city amazed foreign visitors. Its artists created some of the most detailed metal sculptures the world had ever seen, and its kings, known as Orbas, ruled with both political authority and sacred responsibility. For more than 700 years, Benin flourished as a center of power, trade, and culture. But its story would eventually collide with the ambitions of a growing European empire, bringing one of Africa's greatest kingdoms to a dramatic and tragic end. This is the story of the Kingdom of Benin. The history of Benin begins with the Edo people who lived in the forested region of what is today's southern Nigeria. Early communities were organized into villages ruled by leaders who gradually formed a centralized authority. These early rulers were known as the Ogiso, meaning kings of the sky. For centuries, the Ogiso dynasty governed the region, laying the foundations for political structure and social organization. But by the 12th century, internal conflicts began to weaken their rule. According to Benin tradition, the people sought a new leader who could restore order and unity to the kingdom. They turned to the powerful Yoruba spiritual center of Ile-Ife, a city known for its ancient traditions and royal lineage. From there came a prince named Oranmiyan. Oranmiyan briefly ruled the region but eventually returned to Ile-Ife. Before leaving, however, he fathered a son who would change the future of the kingdom forever. That son was Uwaka. Uwaka became the first ruler of a new royal dynasty and took the title of Oba, meaning king. Under his leadership, the foundations of the Kingdom of Benin were firmly established. As the centuries passed, the power of the Obas grew stronger. The Oba was not only a political ruler, but also a spiritual figure believed to hold divine authority. The royal court developed a complex system of chiefs, advisors, and officials who helped administer the kingdom. Among the greatest rulers in Benin's history was Oba Uer, who ruled during the 15th century. Uer is often remembered as one of Benin's most transformative kings. During his reign, the kingdom expanded its territory through military campaigns and strengthened its political institutions. But Uer's most remarkable achievements were within the capital city itself. He reorganized the layout of the city, creating wide roads that extended outward from the royal palace like spokes on a wheel. He also ordered the construction of enormous defensive walls and moats. These structures, known today as the Benin earthworks, stretched for thousands of kilometers across the surrounding region. Modern historians believe these earthworks may be among the largest man-made structures ever created before the modern era. At the center of the kingdom stood the magnificent capital, Benin City. European explorers who visited the city in the 15th and 16th centuries were astonished by what they saw. They described wide streets, carefully organized neighborhoods, and large houses arranged in orderly patterns. The royal palace complex itself was enormous, filled with courtyards, halls, and ceremonial spaces. But the most breathtaking features of Benin were the artistic creations produced by its craftsmen. Using a sophisticated technique called loss wax casting, Benin artisans created detailed sculptures from bronze and brass. These works, known today as the Benin Bronzes, depicted scenes from royal ceremonies, battles, and everyday life. Many plaques decorated the walls of the royal palace. Each artwork preserved important historical events and honored the kings who ruled the kingdom. These masterpieces remain among the most famous works of African art in the world. Benin was not an isolated kingdom. Its strategic location allowed it to participate in regional and international trade networks. Local merchants traded ivory, pepper, palm oil, textiles, and artworks. In the late 1400s, European ships began arriving along the West African coast. Among the first were traders from Portugal. Diplomatic relations developed between Benin and Portuguese traders. Portuguese merchants brought copper, textiles, and other goods from Europe. In return, Benin exported ivory, pepper, and crafted objects. But unlike many other regions along the coast, trade in Benin was tightly controlled by the Oba. Foreign traders were not allowed unrestricted access to the interior of the kingdom. This careful regulation helped Benin maintain its independence and political stability for centuries. The success of Benin was built on a highly organized society. The Oba stood at the center of power, supported by a complex hierarchy of chiefs and palace officials. Craft guilds played an important role in the kingdom's economy. Different groups specialized in particular skills: metalworking, ivory carving, weaving, and wood carving. These guilds worked closely with the royal palace, producing objects for both ceremonial use and trade. Religion and spiritual traditions were deeply integrated into daily life. Royal ancestors were honored through rituals and ceremonies, reinforcing the sacred authority of the Oba. Women also held important roles within Benin society. The Queen Mother, known as the Oba, held significant influence within the royal court and sometimes played key political roles. For hundreds of years, the Kingdom of Benin remained stable and prosperous. Its kings maintained strong control over the kingdom. Its craftsmen continued producing extraordinary art, and its traders connected the kingdom to markets across Africa and beyond. Benin's influence spread across large areas of southern Nigeria, but by the 19th century, the world around Benin was changing rapidly. European nations were expanding their power across Africa. The age of colonial competition had begun. Tensions between Benin and British colonial officials grew during the late 1800s. British authorities wanted greater control over trade and influence in the region. The Oba of Benin resisted these demands. In 1897, a conflict escalated when British forces launched a military invasion known as the Benin Expedition of 1897. The British Army attacked the capital city, burning large parts of it and looting the royal palace. Thousands of artworks, including many Benin Bronzes, were taken from the palace and transported to museums and collections across Europe. The Oba at the time, Ovenramwan Nagbiesi, was eventually captured and exiled. With the destruction of the capital, the independent Kingdom of Benin came to an end. Although the political kingdom fell, its legacy never disappeared. The culture and traditions of the Edo people continued to thrive. Today, the artworks created centuries ago remain some of the most celebrated treasures in African history. In recent years, museums and governments around the world have begun returning some of the Benin Bronzes to Nigeria, acknowledging their cultural importance. And the royal dynasty of Benin still exists today as a respected traditional institution in Benin City. The story of Benin is a reminder that Africa's past is filled with powerful kingdoms, extraordinary creativity, and civilizations that shaped the course of history. Because long before colonial empires arrived, the Kingdom of Benin stood as one of the greatest cultural centers of West Africa, and its legacy continues to inspire the world today.